right, well, since it's the last presentation, I'll try to keep things short so everyone can get out of here. I'm Conor Leary. I'm an engineering manager here at Ava Labs, and today we're going to be talking about how to use Glacier and Webhooks to build real-time, event-driven applications on Avalanche. We're going to start by going through a brief overview of the tools and why we built them. There's more documentation and tutorials linked at the end, so just because we're only covering things very briefly doesn't mean there's not more resources to find out. After covering those, we're going to dive into 2 of the newer products we've developed. We're going to showcase a demo and then go into a few real-world use cases. And at the end, we're going to highlight a few of the upcoming features we're currently developing. All right, let's start off with the problem. Why RPCs aren't enough for modern blockchain applications. So RPC methods are great for executing transactions and doing simple queries, but they break down when you need richer data. Want to know all the tokens a wallet holds or its full transaction history? That's essentially impossible with just RPC endpoints. Cross-chain activity, like moving funds from the P to the C chain, is also incredibly difficult to trace with RPCs alone. And even for the data you can surface, RPCs return hex that's slow and fragmented, forcing developers to handle decoding and stitching together the data themselves. This ends up forcing most teams to run their own indexers just to get started. That takes time, engineering effort, and adds a layer of operational complexity to simply building on-chain. It also leads to API fragmentation throughout the L1 ecosystem. So each L1 has their own set of APIs and API standards for building on top of them or fetching data about their state. And anyone building on multiple L1s are forced to integrate multiple different L1 data or API providers. So that's where Glacier API comes in. So Glacier is Avalanche's official index API. It's designed to simplify how developers access blockchain data. We take complex, fragmented data from blockchain nodes, things like raw hex, transaction internals, and validator events, and we serve it in a clean, structured, performant API. We index all 3 primary networks, all major L1s, and provide unified support for cross-chain features like atomic swaps and ICM. That means you can access validator information, staking details, and trace ICMs from one L1 to another, all from a single unified API. We alleviate the need for L1 operators to run custom indexers and provide ecosystems builders a single unified API to access all L1s on the Avalanche ecosystem. And we're not just buildings for others. We use Glacier in many of our own internal applications. Most applications developed by Ava Labs are using Glacier in some state or form. Core, Ava Cloud, the Explorer, they're all fetching data from Glacier on the back end, as well as many in the community are using it as well. All right, so let's talk about Avalanche Webhooks. So once you're consuming structured index blockchain data through an API, really the next step of the process is how do you get this data real time? Traditionally, teams use WebSockets to handle this in blockchain, but WebSockets are fragile. A single disconnect can really break most modern applications. It forces teams to sort of track what the last block they saw was, sort of track their open connections, and pull any missed data on failure. And it's generally just a fairly annoying burden for simply building an application. So Avalanche Webhooks eliminates this complexity. All you need to do is subscribe to an on-chain event that you care about, an ERC20 transfer, an NFT mint, an LP pool creation. We push encoded enriched data directly to your backend, so no sockets, no decoding, no rehydration. And we do have automatic retry, so if your server goes down, as soon as you come back up, we'll ensure guaranteed delivery to you. We do augment the data's we do augment the payloads as well. We include name, symbol, token decimal. We do have a few additional fields like reputational metadata we get from Blockade and a few other folks. So essentially all you need to do is receive the payload and you don't need to make any subsequent API calls. Everything should be ready to go right from there. We have smart contract and address transactions across C-chain and EVM L1s. We do have PNX chain currently in development, and we do have ICM support across. We are adding ICM support specifically for L1s in the near future. All right, so let's hop into a few features. So as we know, ICM and L1 coordination are essential building blocks for building in a multi-chain environment like Avalanche. Right now, if an L1 sends a message or an asset to another L1, developers are forced to parse and grab data from the other side of the transaction. That usually means spinning up an indexer for every single chain that you could possibly send a message to and maintaining relatively fragile infrastructure on top of that. Through the Glacier API, we're solving this pain point by automatically ingesting and linking transactions across L1s. So if I send an ICM message from the C chain to Dexalot, you can easily pull that data directly from an API in Glacier. It's fully linked with both transaction hashes. All of the raw bytes are right there. It's easy to decode and understand what's going on. We are starting to expand our coverage. Right now, we do have mainnet and most notable test nets ingested, but we are going to be expanding to all mainnets, all test nets across Avalanche. As long as the network is public, we'll be ingesting the ICM messages and linking them for developers. Now, we do have a couple nice use cases already. I know a lot of folks here at the conference are using these endpoints. The two folks I want to call out are here. We have L1Beat, who's using our API to build aggregated data visualizations across the network, sort of where messages are flowing from and to. And then Tesseract has basically using Glacier to trace their cross-chain swaps. So wherever you're sending your transaction, they're grabbing the corresponding data and linking it back through Glacier API. All right, so we do have a couple demos here I'll share. So the first part of it will be just demonstrating how to create a webhook through the Ava Cloud portal and just subscribing to a transaction address. Okay, so right now we're going through the Ava Cloud portal. We're going to just do subscribing to a single address. So anytime a transaction involving that address happens on chain, you'll receive a webhook event. Here you can just set up, this is just a simple webhook receiving site that you can use to test. So go through, we're going to leave all these fields blank. Just name our webhook. Create, and then we'll send an address here and just show it being caught. All right, and as you can see, the webhook's fired and everything. So we're going to go into our second demo here that's a little bit more interesting, and it's going to be receiving events fired on a smart contract. So we are leaving this a little bit more generic just so that we have a lot of events fired in this demo. But if you go see the event signature down below, you can customize this so you fire only on specific events. If you're going to monitor something like a liquidity pool, that can be contract-created events so that if a new pool is created, you get it. That could be on an NFT mint. That could really be on any arbitrary smart contract function. And we do parse logs and internal transactions for this as well. Obviously, for monitoring a smart contract, it doesn't matter. But if you are monitoring an address natively and you are involved in an internal, the webhooks will fire as well. And as you can see, just as people use USDC on chain, these events are coming in. We can handle pretty much any amount of scale that you would want. And you really customize it for however you want to parse EVM data. All right, so let's wrap this up by talking about next steps. So P&X chain webhooks are set to be released in the next couple of months. And then from there, we're really, in fact, going into ICM and developing a host of products. So that'll be automated ingestion for all public L1s. That'll both be for webhooks and for the Glacier API. We're going to be adding some default message parsing so that as ICM transactions happen, they are decoded and labeled so you can understand exactly what is happening rather than just that an event happened. And then we'll be adding some new metrics and visualizations to go along with this. L1Beat has done a great job visualizing some of this data. We hope to kind of work with them to create some more new visualizations and take that to the next level. So there's some useful links here as well. These slides will be linked for anyone interested. And I think that wraps us up.
questions? Any questions? All good. Oh.
Yep, webhooks are real time. Depending on the specific network and how much traffic there is, you can expect anything from a half a second to 2 seconds of latency. Generally, the 2 seconds of latency you're only going to see when there's tons of congestion. I'm talking hundreds of transactions coming in per second. You'll start to see kind of the latencies tick up, but for most chains, including the C chain, it's generally about a half second of latency.
Thank you. Other question? Oh.
I'm new to this a little bit, so apologies if this is obvious, but if you mentioned at the beginning, if maybe sometimes these webhooks will fail, there'll be retries. Are there any health check mechanisms, or how would you resolve, if you're maintaining an aggregate or something, how would you check whether you'd missed any webhooks, and what would be the sort of latency and reliability of that?
It's a great question. So we don't have, so right now we have exponential backoff if we send a webhook event and we don't get a successful response from you acknowledging in it. We don't have a mechanism in place for you to pull historical data. It is something we're evaluating building out, but for right now, as soon as we get an acknowledged event of that specific webhook firing, we just remove it from the queue.